You ever wake up, pour yourself a coffee, and think, hey, today's the day I start a war with an entire homeowners association? Yeah, me neither. At least not on purpose. But let me tell you, sometimes life just drags you straight into the deep end, whether you feel like swimming or not. Let me take you back about 6 months. Picture me sitting on my porch, looking out at the old farmhouse my granddad built with his own hands back in the 70s. Place is surrounded by land. He cleared himself back before the world got so crowded and everything turned into a subdivision. For most of my life, it was just us and a couple other families, some cows, and more open sky than you could ever use. Then everything changed. Some developer with dollar signs in their eyes gobbled up all the land around us, built a bunch of giant identical houses, called it something like Whispering Pines, but everyone just calls it the new development, like it's some kind of disease nobody wants to catch. All these mansions, perfect. Lawns, mailboxes that look like they belong in a museum and not a single toy or leaf out of place. Meanwhile, there's me and my stubborn old farmhouse, right smack in the middle. It's like being the last tree in a parking lot. The only way in or out is this long gravel driveway that cuts through the paradise. I guess the developers thought they could wear me down, made me a couple offers to buy me out, bulldoze the house, turn it into another trophy home. I told them politely at first to take a hike. This land means something to my family, you know. You don't bulldoze memories for a bigger mailbox. So I stayed, and I watched as the neighborhood got fancier, the people got fussier, and the electricity bill, yeah, that just kept going up too. Which brings me to the solar panels. After one too many months cussing out the electric company, I did the math, read the reviews, talked to a few companies, and decided that's it. I'm going solar. Not just a couple panels either. We're talking about a full on ground mounted array batteries in the shed, the whole off grid fantasy. Cost a pretty penny. But hey, tax credits help. And I figured why not take control for once. Installers came, did their thing. 2 weeks later, I was watching the sun fuel up my batteries, smiling like a fool every time the fridge hummed. Honestly, I felt pretty good. There's a special kind of pride in being energy independent. I could handle a blackout, a storm, you name it. Then came the letter. Certified mail, never a good sign. You ever get one of those and think, maybe it's good news? Me neither. Open it up, and boom. It's the HOA from the new development. They're claiming my solar panels violate community standards. According to them, I've got 48 hours to tear them out, or they'll fine me $500 a day. 500 a day. At first I laughed. Genuinely. I mean, it had to be some clerical error, right? I'm not in their HOA. My house is older than their bylaws. I never signed anything. Their rules don't mean squat to me. So I chucked the letter in a drawer and figured they'll realize eventually, and that'll be that. Turns out eventually doesn't mean what I thought it did. 3 days later, I'm out in the garage trying to get my old truck to run, and the sedan pulls up. Out steps a woman in a suit, clipboard, sunglasses, whole I run the world vibe. She's got a guy with her in a rent-a-cop uniform. She stomps up to my door and starts banging like the house is on fire. I open the door, and before I can even say hello, she's off. I'm destroying property values, violating bylaws, bringing shame on the neighborhood. You know the type talks at you, not with you. I try to explain, not that she wants to hear it, that I'm not part of their HOA. Doesn't matter. She says everyone in the area is subject to the same rules. She threatens a lien, says they'll have my panels ripped out. Send me the bill. Meanwhile, her security guy's standing there, looking like he's wondering if lunch break is soon. Honestly, I almost felt bad for him. I told her as calmly as I could manage that she was mistaken. Didn't matter. She gives me 48 more hours and storms off. Well, now I'm annoyed. Annoyed, but still pretty sure it'll all blow over. Wrong. Another letter shows up fancier this time with legal language and a bill for $3,500 in fines. They're threatening to send contractors out to remove illegal equipment. I start to see red. That's when they start trespassing. I'm sitting in my kitchen one afternoon and I see the same woman plus some guy in a suit walking my property line, snapping photos, pointing, talking into their phones. That's when it hits me. These people aren't just confused, they're determined. They're making a campaign out of it. So I do what any sensible person does. I dig out every deed, every map, every yellowed scrap of legal paper my granddad ever left me. I read up on their CC and Rs, the rules they keep quoting at me. And, surprise, my land isn't and has never been part of their subdivision. I'm unincorporated county land, thank you very much. Their rules don't touch me. But instead of just calling them to say, hey, wrong guy, I decided, you know what? Let's have a little fun. Let's see how far they'll push this. Maybe I'd get a story out of it. I called the HOA office, told them I wanted to schedule a compliance meeting, to resolve the issue. The secretary sounded relieved, like she was expecting me to come crawling, checkbook in hand. We set the meeting for Saturday at my house. Saturday morning, 3 cars roll up. The president, 2 board members, the lawyer. They come in all business, won't take coffee. The president launches into her spiel, waving documents laying out every complaint like I'm a criminal mastermind. She's got photos, printouts, everything. The lawyer's tossing out legalese about fines authority contracts for removal. They've even gotten quotes $8,000 to yank out my panels. The meter's running, apparently. I just sit, smile, nod, take notes. When they're finally done, I thank them really as polite as I can and slide my folder across the table. She opens it, expecting a check. Instead, she finds the original county land survey red lines, showing exactly where her precious subdivision ends and where my stubborn little property begins. There's the deed with my granddad's name on it, tax records, everything. You should have seen their faces, the lawyers going pale, the president stammering. I pull out the stack of letters they sent the photos of them trespassing. I hand them an invoice for consulting fees, $250 an hour for the time they wasted. I explain that they have zero legal authority here, and that if they keep it up, I'll file civil and maybe even criminal complaints for harassment and trespass. You could hear a pin drop. The lawyer asks to step outside. The board members look like they'd rather be anywhere else. When they come back, they're singing a whole new tune. The lawyer apologizes, says they'll withdraw all notices, drop all fines. The president tries to pin it on bad info from their management company. Hopes we can be good neighbors. I tell them that's fine, but I want a written promise that they'll never step foot on my land again. And I expect compensation for my time. They agree. 2 days later, I get a letter confirming it all, plus a check for $1,500. Not as much as I billed, but honestly, I felt like I'd already won. And here's the kicker. Now, every time the HOA president leaves her neighborhood, she has to drive right past my shiny new solar array. And every time I make sure to wave sometimes with both hands if I'm feeling cheeky. A couple days after all that, one of the other residents, a guy about my age, stops by, says he heard about the whole mess, wants advice about solar. Turns out he'd been denied by the HOA for aesthetic reasons. I give him my research, tell him to check his property lines real close. Sometimes these developments get a little too greedy with the paperwork. A week later, I see a survey crew in his yard. Who knows, maybe he'll discover he's not as tightly leashed as he thinks. If you're still with me, maybe you're wondering what I took away from all this. I'll tell you first, don't ever assume someone in charge knows what they're talking about. Second, keep your paperwork. Third, let the other side dig their own hole. Sometimes the best move is to wait. And, above all, check your maps before you start bossing people around. I'm still here, still generating more power than I need, and not answering to anybody but myself. And I'll tell you, there's a weird kind of joy in just being left alone. That's what my granddad would have wanted. The HOA, still going strong, at least until the old president resigned after the incident. The new guy actually stopped by to apologize, said they're rewriting their rules to be friendlier to solar. Maybe, just maybe, the next person won't have to fight so hard to do the right thing. I guess the universe sometimes lets the little guy win Sometimes you stand up, wave your paperwork in their faces, and you get a check for your trouble. Sometimes karma looks a lot like a row of solar panels gleaming in the morning sun. So let me ask you, where do you draw the line? When does community cross over into just plain bullying? Ever been on the wrong end of some HOA power trip? Or fought back when you knew you were right? I want to hear your stories. Let's see who's got the wildest tale, or maybe just the best revenge. Because trust me, sometimes the best kind of justice is the kind that makes you laugh every time you see it shining out in your own backyard.